Hello everybody, my name is Alonzo and Hubert, and today I'll be presenting to you all my social media campaign in unlocking sustainable well-being, harnessing the self-determination theory to cultivate consistent exercise. Now in this campaign we'll be jumping into the definitions of consistency and the self-determination theory, which help elaborate on the examples of 3 social media content along with further elaboration of 2 references that help also create this campaign. Now, first and foremost, we'll be jumping into the definition of consistency. Now, consistency is the regularity and reliability with which an individual engages in exercise or movement over time. Now, this often requires a more positive mindset in times where it is challenging to stay on track, with which can be also modified in terms of frequency, adherence, and variety. Variety relates to the type of physical activity we want to perform. Adherence relates to the maintenance of that physical activity, and frequency relates to the concept of time. How many times during the week or how many times during the day we're able to carry out that physical activity regime. This is followed by the definition of self-determination theory. Now, this theory proposes that the quality or type of a person's motivation is dependent or variable, which is something that can be changed for determining whether they will engage in a behavior. Now, this theory includes 3 concepts within, which is the type of motivation, the basic psychological needs, and the social context. When we talk about social context, we are talking about the nature of competence or the competitive nature, the challenging nature, in which helps us overcome the barriers of us trying to achieve our physical active goals. Now, the concept of basic psychological needs relates to the idea of relatedness. Relatedness is the interaction, the feeling of wanting to relate to the extrinsic source that is providing us with the intrinsic motivation that we need, which leads us to the final idea of this theory, which is autonomy, which is the basic motivation, which is the basic intrinsic motivation, the motivation that's inside us, which is also variable, which also relates to the type of motivation. Now, these 2 definitions can be helped further elaborated in certain ideas such as social media, because social media is a major extrinsic source in which we gather our information, our ways of how we perceive the world, and in terms of exercise and healthy well-being. If we want to cultivate a more better physical active program or a weight training program, for example, we go to the internet, we go to the social media just so we can see what other people are doing. Now, there's a certain reference created by Dural and their colleagues in the year 2022, in which they found that trustworthy, expert, and attractive social media fitness influencers play a very important effect in increasing both men and women's physical activity. Now, by following these certain influencers who share the fitness journeys, us as the individuals who are trying to find a motivation and inspiration become more committed to our own particular health goals. Now, quoting them, the more favorable the attitude toward the social media influencer, the higher the intention to exercise. Now, when it talks about the more favorable the attitude toward the social media fitness influencer, we're talking about their own motivation, their own ethos in their field, if they're actually willing to share, which helps connect to the idea of relatedness and our self-determination theory. If we feel related to that certain individual or that certain platform which is providing us with the motivation that we need, we are actually want to commit to that physical activity behavior. Now, an example of a platform, this is one of three social media content that we'll present in this campaign. We'll be using Instagram. Now, there's a certain page titled Hip for You, which uses certain quotes in their bios. I'm just going to reach in a little bit to read. Now, we can see that one of these 2 posts included in their caption stating that it's not about the intensity of of each session, but the dedication to showing up consistently and becoming the new you. Now, and they also provide a little image indicating us a little graph that measures the rate of intensity, comparing it with the rate of being consistent or disciplined in that particular nature. Now this certain platform is trying to elaborate their audience that it's not about how intense you do it, but showing up and having a clear, positive mind, whether in times that is very challenging for us to stay on track, which lies on the idea of being consistent. Now, on this other post, this certain user or this certain Instagram page demonstrated us a little picture of a man named David Goggins. Now, a lot of us may not know who he is, but David Goggins is a man who also practices the idea of consistency and being self-disciplined in terms of being physically active, mentally active, and stuff. And they included a certain quote which states, "The only way to achieve greatness in life is to have patience, consistency, and discipline." Now, this is also an idea of the self-determination theory, because due to the fact that Mr. Goggins here is trying to provide us with the relatedness that he wants to experience. Now, we all know for a fact that there's a certain aspect of his life in where he was at his low, and now he's at his peak because he kept being consistent with his regime. Now, this is one example of a social media platform. And another example we have here is TikTok. Now, here's a little video.
People spread it across the country. And we go back. This is the moment. Tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can.
That is me, by the way. And what we can see here is a little video that this certain individual created. So basically, he shared us his own personal weight training program along with his boxing program. Now, we can imply that he's a boxer himself. We can imply that he's a very active individual, and he's trying to share his program with us. Now, this also lies to the idea of consistency and the concept of the self-determination theory, which states because there's autonomy, there's relatedness, and there's competence. Now, the one that correlates with in relation to the extrinsic source is relatedness. Now, this certain individual is wanting us to relate to him, wanting us to emulate him in the fact that he's very active and that he has a certain program that helps him being consistent, which is what he's trying to do in this post.
People spread it across the country.
Okay. Now we have the other reference here, written by Pym and their colleagues in the year 2016, which states that the social media effects are further elucidated with cues that help with consistency in working out by triggering automatic processes, just as habits that lead to regular physical activity. Now, quoting them, there's certain research, and this certain field of physical activity habit research will help further studies due to the fact that using the effects that physical activity induces in the certain individual can be progress in any type of mode of physical activity, which also ties to the idea of being consistent. Now, consistency, the idea of consistency can be modified in terms of adherence and variety, which this article is trying to provide. And the study also sought to understand the complex linkages between the complex correlations between physical activity, automaticity, and behavior in relation to the consistency of cues, such as those cues can be relied to as people, activity, routine, location, time, and the state of mind, which can be further mentioned as the cultivating of a more positive mindset. The more positive you are, the better the chances are you're going to carry out that exercise behavior. Now, the last piece of content I would like to share of our social media part of this campaign is X, or formerly Twitter. Now, we have another page titled Fit World, in which they posted a little quote stating, "The only difference between you and the fittest version of you is a few healthy habits compounded over time." Now, this ties into the theory of being self-regulated, self-determined, in the idea that it triggers the cue of being more motivated inside. And in terms of consistency, this post also helps trigger the idea this helps trigger the idea that we need to work out even more, because this post is trying to tell us that. And these are my references. I hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit through my campaign. Thank you.